what people are realizing here is like, look, you know, if the Niners can say get to 500 by maybe next week or even week 16, Jimmy could come back. Tart could come back. If they get to the playoffs, Kittle could come back. Like this team could get to the point where they're the team they were last year, or they're the team that no one wants to face, or they're the hottest team going, and they have, you know, championship pedigree or NFC championship pedigree. Do you see that? I mean, I don't know what the question is here. How optimistic are you about the Niners going forward? Or is this kind of just enthusiasm after an exciting win?
Right now, I tend to go with the latter. And it's only because we've seen very, very impressive statement wins from the 49ers this season at different points in this season. It's always followed up by a brutal loss that makes you write them off. And it's been so up and down, peaks and valleys. I need to see this. First, I need to see them play with a healthy roster for a couple of games. And second, I just need to see a bit more consistency before I say this team can make a run. The Super Bowl, the team that people don't want to face in the playoffs, is really tough for me to say because I think you need a guy at quarterback who's playing at a terrific level to make that kind of run, especially if you have to go on the road, regardless of how road playoff games, how
4-2 on the road.
Huh?
4-2 in the road this year. No, you're right. You're right.
Yeah,
you're
but
right. Especially if it's road game after road game.
Right. You need a guy that's just playing out of his mind at a very high level, which remains to be seen with the Niners. I'm pleasantly optimistic. I'm gonna keep, you know, obviously I'm gonna root for them. They're my team and everything, but I definitely want to wait a game or two before I say, well, they can absolutely make a run. Just because we saw a very impressive game from what was essentially their backup squad against the Giants. And we were like, wow, the Niners have really bounced back from week 1 against Arizona. They've really found a groove after all these injuries. And then they had a stinker versus Philly. Well, everything is okay. Then a stinker versus Miami. Then people start coming back. Ooh, the Rams game showing something. Ooh, the Patriots game showing something. Stinker versus Seattle. Then, oh, well, they don't have anybody versus Green Bay. They lose. Then coming extended rest, you know, they have this brilliant coaching game plan. The defense plays out of their mind, and they get basically what ends up being basically getting beat down by New Orleans. Now they have this great bounce back game versus the Rams. What I said prior, basically, the prior evidence would lead you to believe, well, there's going to be another stinker upcoming. So we'll see what happens. It's a tough ask. I think even 8-8 would, I think 8-8, where I think they're going to finish, would be a phenomenal coaching performance by these coaches. And maybe that gets them into the playoffs. It remains to be seen whether Arizona is going to fall off. The Bears are done, right? We can just don't talk Bears anymore. They're not making the playoffs. I'm very happy about that. Very happy about that. But the Bears not making the playoffs. Yeah. But overall, I just think we need to. I think 8-8 could get it done, but we'll have to wait and see here.
Well, I think you did a great job laying out the realistic the reasons to curb your enthusiasm, to temper your expectations. I'm going to lay out the argument for why the Niners are going to pull this off, but why they really should be optimistic more than I think a lot of fans are willing to be right now. Let's start with our previous topic, Deebo Samuel, the guy who you say is the MVP of the offense, who I say is the best player on the team. The Niners are 3-0 in the last 3 games he's played. They beat the Rams at home, and then they went to New England and destroyed New England, who just beat the Cardinals. The Patriots aren't terrible. Destroyed them with Deebo Samuel on the field. And it wasn't because Jimmy Garoppolo was great that day. It was because Deebo Samuel was great that day. And so was Kyle Shanahan. They lose Deebo Samuel. They lose 3 in a row. Deebo comes back. All of a sudden, they win. The offense is good enough. The defense is still good. So, look, unless Deebo Samuel is going to get hurt again and pull his hamstring, then all bets are off. But let's assume Deebo plays the next 5 games and only gets, in better shape. That's good. Brandon Ayuk's coming back. That's fantastic. I mean, those two haven't really played that much together. So that's good. George Kittle, he won't come back until the playoffs if they get there. That's another discussion. But to have Mostert, Wilson, potentially Coleman, another guy who can run, and Ayuk and Deebo, it's starting to look like one of the best supporting casts in the league, plus a terrific defense Now, the offensive line is horrendous, and the quarterback is a bit of an enigma. So those are limitations. But having Deebo Samuel, as we said, makes a quarterback's life easy. Having Brandon Ayuk makes a defense's job really tough to have to account for both of them. And while you're trying to account for them, now stop Jeff Wilson Jr. and Raheem Mostert. It's seeming like this team is gelling or coming back together at the right time.
I agree. Those are great points. All those points are absolutely right on, especially after watching yesterday's game. There's two problems for me. One is I still think there's a lot of pressure on this defense, right? Mm-hmm. The defense still had to score 7 points yesterday.
Gotta be perfect.
Right. And one, this defense has Jared Goff's number. They really do. And two, Jared Goff is a bottom 12 starting quarterback. He ranks somewhere between 20 to 32 in my estimation. He's a nice thrower.
Dude, he stinks. Oh, he's a good, so soft. He's not a good competitor. He's not tough. Boy, Jared Goff. Yep, agree. You know what? I actually would take Nick Mullins over Jared Goff. I love Jared Goff's arm, but he's so milquetoast. He's so not tough. Like, you can see it in his eyes in that game. Like, hey, if we win, it's fine. If we don't, it's fine. I just feel like Mullins inspired. I don't know what it is. He's just more of a competitor, I guess. Goff is clearly a better athlete. That's why Goff was the first pick in the draft. He has a hell of an arm, but he's so, I don't know what the word is. I'm not going to say he's just not a competitor. I don't like him. I don't like him at all. He stinks. I think he's a loser. And I think the fact that they win with him, it just speaks to how good Sean McVay is.
Okay.
Really.
Okay.
Really.
Okay. Fair. But my thing with that is this offense, they just have a propensity to turn the ball over.
Which one? The Niners?
Yes.
Okay.
The Niners. Even yesterday, that game was coached to be a blowout, and you have mistake after mistake, and now you're in this grinded out, real ugly game where your defense basically absolutely destroyed the Rams offense. And you know what happened against the Saints, where we saw the opposite result of the defense once again destroyed the Saints offense, but the offense's inability to control the football and not turn it over, it basically lopsided the result in what was a close ball game and what was actually a ball game where their defense dominated. So for me, turning the ball over is really where I kind of draw the line, and it's real tough for me to just buy in totally because I think we have I don't know actually whether we're that far apart in our estimations or evaluations of Nick Mullins. I think we see the same things, but I just think you say him in more positive outlook and I say it in a more realistic outlook, or maybe a more negative. I don't know.